him a white nationalist, and it doesn't make me a radical Islamist. It just means that we're two human beings who can discuss ideas sensibly together. Because, you know, we're reasonably adult, and that we think that one way or another, that's going to push the debate forward. Okay, let's just, since you're not actually interested in hearing a serious lecture, let's just carry on questions and answers now. But let's have genuine questions and answers. Come on, give it a go.
Will you go home? Oh man, you can't bump that flight up so serious.
Yeah.
Can you explain some of your
Well, you should answer any reasonable question.
Can I explain the party's environmental policies? Yeah, one of the things about being a nationalist is that you're a long-termist, whereas the capitalists and the Marxists, they're materialistic creeds, it's short-termism, which means that for either profit or for the glory of the working class, they will rip up the entire planet as quickly as possible to get the maximum short-term material profit. Nationalists don't believe in that. We believe that we hold the land, and between us, the different nations of the world, hold the entire planet in trust for past generations and for future generations. And therefore, we would always, as a BNP government at some stage, any development would first of all be looked at in terms of what's the long-term impact of this on a nation, on culture, and on the environment. And in fact, really, nationalists are the only logical Greens in the entire planet. You know, it's really as simple as that. Certainly no Marxist can claim to be a Green, because Marxism is about materialism. It's about the here and now, and it's systematically raped and looted the eastern half of this planet just as much capitalism has done the west. We, on the other hand, I would say, are a third way, and we don't want to rape and loot this planet.
You still deny the Holocaust?
No.
How many more David Copeland's in your organization?
Okay, one question at a time. Do I deny the Holocaust?
One smoking pack.
2006 in the Sunday Mailman. What'd you say about the smokestacks?
I don't run the Sunday Mail.
Okay, did you say that the smokestacks were put up after the end of World War II? The smokestacks of Auschwitz?
Auschwitz. As a matter of fact, some of them were.
No,
yes.
what you said.
Let me explain my position upon the Holocaust. Okay? And it's this, that I have in the past said very rude things about the Holocaust, which doesn't make me an anti-Semite. You have people like Norman Finkelstein, who have said very rude things about the way it's used as a business, and the way various people have said very rude things about the way it's used to justify the oppression of the Palestinians. Now, I was angry with the way that the Holocaust was used as a huge moral club to prevent any discussion of things such as the preservation of nationality and such as problems relating to mass immigration. And on account of that, I said very rude things about it. I've never denied it. I have no doubt whatsoever. I've never doubted that vast numbers of entirely innocent Eastern European Jews were murdered by the Nazis and their allies during the Second World War. No one precisely knows. But at Nuremberg, one of the figures...
How many? 3.2 or 6?
20 million. 20 million. That's the figure that was announced at Nuremberg, and that is the figure that I believe. It's simply as simple as that. So, let's continue looking at the...
What would the BNP's program be if people refused to voluntarily repatriate themselves, or mixed race, mixed cultural families, communities decided to stay together in the face of a BNP amendment? What would the BNP? Would you force those communities out?
I'll answer that question as soon as I finish the previous question, all right? We'll come back to yours. So, returning to the question of the Holocaust. I've no doubt whatsoever that it was a genocide against the Jews of Eastern Europe. It was one of a number of appalling genocides throughout the planet during the last century. I believe that it's racist, that it's held up as in somehow more important than all the others. So, for instance, again, coming back to Palestinians, they have to be the victims for something that happened under the Germans in another continent. I think that is wrong. But I do regret having been so rude about it, and that's for this reason.
You regret you being here.
Okay.
Woo! Yeah.
I regret that because on September the 11th, 2001, the world changed. And at that point, it became very, very clear, in the years that have come since then, that the world is now divided once again to two, between Dar al-Harb and Dar al-Salam, the zone of war and the zone of submission. And that the great danger to the free-thinking peoples of the world, be they Christians, or liberals, or atheists, or Jews, or Sikhs, or Hindus, comes from radical Islam.
It was an inside job!
Having gratuitously, oh dear, oh dear.
Inside job!
Gratuitously, out of anger the Jewish community, it makes it harder to have the rapprochement between European nationalists and the Jewish community, which will be necessary if we are to save Europe.
I admit that there's right-wing tendencies within Islam. The problem with you is you conflate Islam and Muslims with whatever variant that you're speaking to. You just conflate the whole populace, the whole religion, the whole culture into one thing. Because BNP has made alliances with Sikhs, Hindus, of the far right against Muslim peoples in Britain. Because you view all Muslims, all Isms as part of the problem.
No, I can understand you thinking that, but it's not the case. And if you actually look at what we say, it's that the position is this, that Islam has had throughout history, it is a fundamentally aggressive imperialist religion, but it has had so was Christianity.
No,
and it's still
it's always done.
But not anymore. Islam is something different. But it's had also peaceful strands. Some Muslims are extraordinarily peaceful. There's really no problem with them. The problem is this, that in the very early part of the 18th century, a tiny obscure sect of Wahhabis conquered Saudi Arabia. And they made an alliance with the House of Saud, and they set about radicalizing Islam by murdering scores of thousands of more moderate Muslims in their area. They are, in effect, they're really a form of Islamic Calvinist. It's John Calvin on acid, this Wahhabi sect. And it never was all of Islam. It was a tiny sect. And if it wasn't for the fact that vast amounts of black gold was found under Saudi Arabia, they would still be riding around on a few camels and would be utterly irrelevant. But because of Saudi Arabian oil wealth, and because of people like George So because of George Bush and his ilk pouring vast amounts of money, huge untold billions, into Saudi Arabia, the Saudis have had money over the last 30 years to pay to radicalise almost the whole of the Islamic communities in the Islamic diaspora in places such as France, Italy, Germany, Britain, America, all over. And so the moderate Muslims who are there have been squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. And the force that now guides Islam, particularly in the West, is this extraordinarily radical force which will destroy every value that not just I hold dear, but also you hold dear.
What about David
And that's the
Copeland? How
problem.
many baby murders do you have in your organization?
I've answered the David Copeland point already. We don't bother with that one again.
How many more do you have? What responsibility do you
I
have?
don't know, because I don't radically state, and I can't look into people's heads, so I don't know. But when it comes to murdering people, I would say that George Bush and Tony Blair, who've murdered 500,000 Iraqi children, are far more Islamophobic and vicious than I am.
Just because you don't have that power.
I have 4 children as well. When you have kids, when you grow up, you'll know as well.
I agree there's a dominant problem is the vision you offer is this anti-modernist one that wants to go back to some mythic way that Britain was before a certain time, and you offer an extreme alternative that would basically wipe out any diversity, any social benefits and change people through their own initiatives and desires have created. I mean, that's the problem. You offer
What about self-determination for the West?
Wait a minute.
What about the
That's what we want.
You presumably accept that all peoples have a right to self-determination and preserve their own identity. Do you believe that?
I do.
Well then, surely it must also apply, for instance, to the English as much as the Amazonian Indians. Why is it that the English or the French or the Italians or the Germans had to surrender and die and give up their entire culture, when everyone else, whether it's Mexicans or Amazonian Indians or Igbo in Nigeria, they're all entitled and encouraged to celebrate their diversity